Today we're going to tactically break down Science Campus. It's not the highest level area or even heavily contested, but there are good reasons to be here. And as such, there are reasons for everyone else to be here too. Let's get educated. Alright, we'll be covering loot in Science Campus, why that's important, entrances and exits, general areas of interest, and specific spots I'd like to share. You get introduced to Science Campus pretty early on, with missions and jobs sending you there to kill mobs and look for loot you typically find there. Speaking of which, here they are. It's nothing outstanding, but there's loads of it. Counting the missions you do, and some reasonable quarters upgrades like Orem Generator, level 7 supply crate, a 12-pound safe pocket, and a bunch of stash space. As of Season 2, you're going to need 68 magnetic field stabilizers, 76 metal alloy, and 78 copper wire. Now, the other stuff you're going to need a bunch of as well. You want green helmets, you want grenades, you want holosites. There's a steady supply of hard metals, copper wires, and many other things here. It's too easy to sweep through and pick up these items. Point being, what is here is in good quantities, so it's pretty consistent. There's 2 close spawn points to the south, 3 evacs a short distance away, and 1 inside of it. There are 2 well-known Delta site clusters nearby, and even if they're not coming to Science Campus, these mountain ranges help funnel people into the immediate area. It has about a dozen or so entries spread across 3 elevations. For the sake of simplicity, we'll cover them now. And here are the main ways you can ascend the 3 tiers. There are multiple ways to descend, some are better than others. The upper tier is laid out in 3 major sections: the front side to the north, the back side to the south, and the evac area on the eastern side. The front side is where the majority of the mobs are going to be, where the northern areas can see you, and where the majority of entries lead, so it's the most likely place you're going to fight. It has 2 large fence walls that block movement in some line of sight, a small pit in the middle, and clusters of various cover options with both its western and eastern sides. The western side does favor defensive movement with much easier access to high ground, and its exits are safer to access while providing ready-made choke points to trap overly aggressive pushes. It's also more condensed, so it favors close-range weaponry. The middle area has good cover, especially when fighting opponents to the north and to the west, and it overlooks the major ramps coming up from the lower tiers. The eastern area feels larger as it spills into the evac area. The cover options, like these large walls, create linear fire zones that can be better exploited with ARs at range just beyond ideal distances for shotguns and SMGs. Unlike the western side, however, due to the exit options available and surrounding terrain, it's going to be harder to disengage safely if you need to. The backside overlooks the lowest tier main loot alley, and it overlooks the main ramps coming up from the middle tier with cover to top it off. Because of the numerous ways you can deny line of sight and no mobs being present, this is one of the safest ways to traverse Science Campus in a west to east or east to west direction. In combat situations, it also presents an underutilized avenue to push evacs. Since you have this large upper structure and various ways to dip to one side or the other, it creates a very viable firing lane that you can still remain safe in. The evac area is a combination of the evac itself, the small mound to the north, and the eastern platform. The platform itself provides some cover while at the sacrifice of making obvious walking on metal noises. There are some good jump up fire positions while using the wall as a half cover and a dip down area. Moving on to the lower tiers, the mid tier is pretty straightforward with the main ways to move up and down with patrolling mobs and some loot scattered throughout. Now if you're really trying to strip the place clean for whatever material you're trying to find, I can understand being here. But never ever 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 linger here. You are literally surrounded by 360 degrees of high ground, most of which has cover. The only option for you to escape, if engaged, is to go further down in one of two ways. There's cover here to be sure, but if you win a trade, follow-up will be hard to impossible. On the other hand, your opponent has the position and distance to readily follow up on you, so if you're going to loot here, do so quickly. And finally, the bottom tier. The covered portion is not all that different from the mid tier, but lacks the amount of loot that the mid tier could provide. Climbing through the center stairs, again, is ill-advised for the previously stated reasons. The back side is the area I refer to as loot alley. It has the 2 dumpsters and a good amount of loose loot spots. But given the ways in and out of this alley, it's actually more safe than the mid tier. The same threats still exist, but your ability to disengage is a bit more open, especially on the western side where the fall damage is less of a factor. If the fighting concepts I'm describing isn't completely clear, or you're new, you can check out my fight guide linked at the end of this video. Now we're going to go over some specific positions and jump ups that are going to be useful to you in your time at Science Campus. This first one is the Western Gate jump up escape. You'll notice that they have these barriers here. If you jump on the last one, it will allow you to jump up on the cliff here. You can use this as a form of escape, or you can gain some high ground elevation from here. You can take advantage of anyone chasing you in the low ground and you've immediately flipped positioning on them. This next one is the Western Wall dumpster jump up. You can use the mantle on the opposite side of the frame. However, the dumpster will give you enough elevation to not have to use a second mantle in order to get up here. This is a tactical advantage if you're engaging someone in the middle or to the north and you're approaching from the west. Plenty of overview and you have some small cover down here so you can dip down and heal if you need to. I call this area the ammo ambush point because of the large wall to your right and the way that the mobs spawn on this particular area. This area is heavily trafficked. So if you're hearing someone approach from either the middle or from the west and you're on the opposite side, there's a very high chance they're going to pass through this area. This next area is the Western Fence murder holes. These rebar and small metal points do block shots. Alright, now I'm going to demonstrate some of the ways you can get through or around the fence. Notice that the Eastern Fence is very easy, the holes are very big, you can jump straight on through them. There are some jump ups that are obvious, other ones that are not so much. This area is very subtle. If you'll notice, there's a slight dip in the elevation right behind this beam here. You can use the elevation and de-elevation to use a head peek, and you can crouch down behind it. This next one's in the Eastern Wall jump up. You can even jump across to the supporting structure here. You can even do it from the opposite side. It will give you a point of view on the evac area as well as the evac platform. In the back on this wall here, you can crouch down and you can see through the gaps. You can use these side areas where the cover breaks just to strafe back and forth to get an angle at the target you want to fire at while denying them return fire. Alright, this next spot here is the upper structure on the eastern side. You can mantle your way up here. You can use this position to overlook the evac area. However, while you're up here, if you need to dip down, be very aware of the areas that you can dip down on. This will give you fall damage, so aim for either the fence or the cover down here. If you're on the back side of the upper tier and you're kind of getting pushed and engaged, there are a few murder holes in a couple of positions that you can use to gain an advantage on initially firing on an opponent. The mounds that are north of the evac platform can be jumped on in there's a little glitched area here that you can jump on the mantle onto, but should that get patched, you can also use the side area on this side here to actually mantle on. Alright, on the platform and near the platform, there's quite a few head peaks that you can take advantage of using the random objects that are available here. Some objects are tall enough to allow you to see over the wall, others not so much. Okay, so that does it for Science Campus. As a general rule, regardless if you're doing a mission, looting, etc., it is always best to answer from the upper areas, and if you have to, work your way down being quick about it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave a comment down below. I will be making more of these breakdowns and guides, so if that interests you, subscribe for easy viewing. And if you're interested in getting better at fighting in the Cycle Frontier, check out my fight guide video. Happy hunting.